Okay, so let's talk about the small leagues. So anyway, let's over here. So yeah, again, the dream of working, say, alone. All right, if you want to do freelance, and you're working completely alone. This is the other end of the spectrum. Again, the dream is you get to be a jack of all trades. In my case, I do programming. I program my own art tools. I handle the drawing. I handle the story. I make my own music. I make my own sound. I have a SoundCloud. Like these. I get to make the soundtrack. I get to take my whole artistic vision and I because I do everything. I don't have to fight with other people. I don't have to you know find some way to articulate what I want from another person. Um, I'm complete like all of that artistic control that I wanted. All that stuff. I've got it. When I work for myself, that's what I get. Um, and then let's see what else is there. There's complete freedom. Yeah, okay. Complete freedom is nice in that I get to determine my own working hours. Most places that you work for, they're gonna want you in there from 9 to 5 or 9 to 7. Depending on where you go. Some places they just want you to stay there for really, really, really long, long, long hours. In my case, I only go to crunch time when I actually really need it, and I'm not a morning guy. I don't. The best. My best work is not done at 9 a.m. in the morning. My best work is done as soon as I wake up. And I go to sleep when I am completely exhausted. It's like if I force myself to go to sleep at 10 o'clock, I don't sleep. I just toss and turn for like almost for hours and hours. And then I fall asleep maybe at 2, and then I wake up at 9 and I'm not refreshed. I just feel like crap. I am much more of a night person. I much prefer to wake up in the afternoon. Wake up at 12 noon, wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, work all the way through the night, go to bed at 6. It's like that is just how I am. I prefer to go to sleep when I am completely, utterly exhausted, and I like to wake up when I feel like it. And as a result, I feel a lot better. It is nice having that. That's a huge thing. There's also no commuting either. I don't have to fight through but I don't have to fight through an hour's worth of traffic each way. That's 2 hours of your life wasted every day, and after 24 days, or actually after 12 days, the 12 days would be, a little over 2 weeks, you've lost a day of your life, a whole 24 hours of your life. That includes sleeping time. So like 2 hours, is a lot. 2 hours of commuting is quite a lot. And I live the way I want to, like that's part of the complete freedom thing. It's like that's the other thing is I have to cook all of my own meals. On the weekends, I basically, get all the food from the supermarket. I go to my mom's house, and together, she handles all the vegetable preparation. I handle all the cooking. We cook everything that we need, put it all in Tupperware, and that way, over the course of the week, if I need food, I can just, go to the refrigerator, grab something up, microwave it, and it works out very well for if you have two people, it's a lot better. That's why I like. So I'm not always eating at the restaurants. It's a lot cheaper. I don't always have to go out for food. I think the food is a lot healthier as a result. But I guess some people who work freelance, they kind of capitulate and they wind up just ordering in pizza all the time, and that's not good. So that's kind of a tough one to consider. Anyway, the reality of working freelance is you have to teach yourself everything. All right. Now, this is the thing: is that when I got really, really, really sick of just doing the same thing over and over again. When I got sick of my job, I was like, all right, you know what? Fuck this. I want to learn to draw. That was like 2000, 2006, 2005. I got so sick of just doing the same thing in and out and being asked to do programming. Like I was asked to like program Microsoft Access for the management's quoting software, which is just really stupid. And I got sick of it, and they basically yelled at me and stuff like that, for just being sick of their bullshit, because the thing is I'm supposed to be working on film stuff, and here I am working on some quoting software, which is It's basically the quoting software is because whenever they talk to a client, they want to know how much to charge the client, right? And it's just they wanted to make this whole software package, and it just went to show that they did not know what was really going into the work. They didn't know what they were. I don't know. They were. It's just they thought they could just punch it all into numbers, into a into a formula, into a machine, and no. Anyway, so yeah, I basically that was sort of my lowest point in my life when I was making really shit program when I was just doing some really shitty programming, and I wanted to be working in comics. I wanted to be doing, my own comics and that kind of thing. And it was just, I was so sick of it. So I just did, fuck it. I basically quit. I handed in, while they were yelling at me, you see, the thing is this, you can only, whenever I work for a company, you can only yell at me 3 times. Like, I mean, and if it's not my fault, okay, that's, I mean, it counts, you know, so the thing is that the first time you yell at me and you're just pissed off and you want to vent your frustration at me, okay, that's like your get out of jail free card. All right. Second time you yell at me, it's like I'm sensing a pattern. By the second time, if you yell at me for a second time and it's not my fault, okay, and you're just venting on me, by that second time that you yelled at me, I'm cleaning out my desk. I'm clearing out all any kind of stuff that I brought in. I just clear out my desk. Okay. And the third and also the second time I was yelled at, I had already typed up and printed out my resignation form, and I had kept it with me at that time, because on the third time that they yelled at me, they called me into a board office, a board meeting to yell at me. I pulled that resignation form out and I signed it in front of them and I handed it into them. I gave them my 2 weeks notice, like right there as they were yelling at me. So, you can only yell at me 3 times. And that was the second time I worked for a company, and I was just sick of the bullshit. And so I got out of there and I said, I'm going to teach myself how to draw. Okay. Now think about it. That was about 6 years ago, and I did not know anything about drawing. Okay. I could not even draw a fucking cube, but I wanted to. It was merely an ambition. And the only reason I was able to just quit my job and go off and do, fuck off and draw was because I had saved up, tens of thousands of dollars from my time, for my 5 years of working in the industry. I had basically saved up all that money so I could get the fuck out. I'd saved up all that money so that I could live off that savings while I taught myself how to draw. I did not go to college. I taught myself. I basically bumbled around for maybe about 3 years. Did not even know that I was supposed to know how to draw a box. I didn't even really understand the purpose of it. When I saw that my bank balance was really dwindling, and I got really desperate, I started realizing, I had better, fucking get my shit together. That's when I really started to learn how to draw boxes. That's when I started, really understanding perspective. And a lot of what you see in my tutorials are, that's my way of documenting. Like, I was blogging and documenting the things that I was learning as I was learning them. So I've grown a whole lot over the course of doing these tutorials. Sometimes through doing the tutorials, I learned a lot. But yeah, I mean, that's what it was like. You have to teach yourself everything. Even now whenever I have to do something like, say, music, if I'm doing a soundtrack or something, I still got to teach myself the software. It's like, when I first got a Wacom Cintiq, it was not what I imagined it would be. I had to sit down and I had to hack all the drivers. I had to teach myself how to make a DLL stub driver. I had to figure out how to, I had like the Wacom SDK. It's like I'm basically learning a lot of programming on my own. Like, I'd known programming, since I was in grade 4. I was programming my own video games, so I'm not completely screwed. I have, my mother's a scientist. My dad is an engineer. My brother's an engineer. I was a programmer, and now I do art. I was a programmer. I'm an visual effects guy. So I mean, that's why I was able to teach myself everything, is because of various things. It's not like any old person can just suddenly wake up from a job working at a canning factory or working as a waiter or waitress their whole life, not having any of these things, and suddenly wake up and say, I want to be an artist, and I want to be independent, and I want to start my own studio. There are many things that went on. I had a lot of help from my mother, when I was young, in that, she introduced me to a lot of things about, regarding science, giving her background as a science. She taught us how science was interesting, how science was fun. And she also taught us to really figure stuff out for ourselves. I did terribly in school because school was so boring. It was just awful. And I don't like being handed knowledge. I don't like just I don't like it when they just take like a textbook and you gotta, you know, cram this stuff into your head and then you gotta, you know, do tests. But anyway, that's another rant for later. Anyway, I know we are just getting started on this whole working freelance and how my experience is. This is going to be even longer than you know talking about the big league. So anyway, let's just end this one here and start the next one.